Today we have got 10 minutes and we have got 10 Pilates exercises for the abs to get a nice burn going. This does assume some prior knowledge of Pilates and some good control of how to engage your core and keep your lower back safe. Please join me on the mat, we're gonna get straight into it. Starting things off with legs into tabletop position, we're going to interlock hands behind the head, ready for our abdominal preparations. So start with your Pilates preparations, hinging from the bottom of your rib cage to take the ribs towards the hip bones. You're almost trying to take your ribs to kiss your hips. Trying to keep an open width across your collarbones and your elbows wide in the peripheral vision. This just helps to keep tension out of the shoulders because we really want the tension in the abs, taking ribs towards the hips. Thinking about head and neck position, keeping the neck nice and long, and imagine you're pinching a peach or a plum underneath your chin. We're keeping going, we've got a little bit longer here on this minute. I'm going to keep going until I hear my timer, and then we'll be moving on to the oblique version of this. So keep that sacrum nicely grounded on the mat, keeping those hips nice and steady, taking the rib cage toward the hips. Good, keeping that elongated spine into oblique movement. So we take our rib across to our opposite hip and lay back down. Rib across to opposite hip and lay back down. So we're starting to get a little bit of rotational work through the abdominals here. Now we have got a minute on the clock. We haven't got any rest here. Keeping that up, keeping that going. If you need to take a rest or modify, take your feet down to the mat and you can keep going with the feet on the floor. Just to show you what that looks like, I'm taking my feet down now and still taking rib to hip, drawing in through the lower abdominals, keeping hips nice and firm on the ground. I've got this open collarbone, I have got open arms. And when we move on next, we'll be moving to a crisscross, which is a slightly more advanced exercise. So keep going with your oblique twists. If you need to take a pause at any point, please feel free to take a pause or keep going with me for 10 minutes of work. Keep that breathing going. Exhale on the exertion, inhale to lay back. Should be really starting to burn into the obliques now. Taking the feet back to your tabletop position, we go for crisscross. So as you take your rib to your opposite hip, start to point and stretch your toe. Take it to lay back down and go to the other side. Rib to hip, point the toe. Lay back down. Rib to hip, point the toe. That's your exhale and return. Good. Exhale and return. So we're into our third minute of work here. You should be starting to feel quite warm. Okay, it's not necessarily a race against the clock. We're working as fast or as slowly as we want to within that minute. I recommend linking these exercises to your inhales and exhales, so that will dictate your pace a little bit. In the crisscross, we're laying down in between. If you want to, you can keep raised in your abdominal preparation and just scoop side to side. I must admit, I'm aware we're still in minute 3, so I might just take this lay down in between each movement. Rib to hip, point the toe, lay back to tabletop. Rib to hip, point the toe, lay back to tabletop. Good, keep it up. And we come into single leg stretch. So this time we're going to start with our hands down by our sides. We can enter tabletop again, or you can keep your feet down on the mat. You're going to take an inhale as you stretch into overhead reach and point the toe. Exhale, circle the arms, you're back in tabletop. Inhale, arms and a leg. Exhale, circle back in. So we want to try and keep the flow going. And we'd really like to try and keep our rib cage kissing our hip bones. So try not to let your ribs pop or flare and avoid lifting and popping through the chest. So keep the front of the ribs softening down towards the pelvis. As the leg stretches away, we're trying to almost retract the hip joint. So as your leg stretches, don't feel like you have to stretch it so far. Try and keep the hip close to the rib. And that way we're going to really start to get this core, this deep core work, because we're keeping our rib cage and our pelvic girdle quite close together. Lovely, that is your single leg stretch. We're going to keep going, but add in an abdominal preparation. So as you take your overhead reach and your stretched out leg, You're then going to exhale, circle the arms and sit up with that abdominal preparation to tabletop. So inhale, lay back, overhead reach. Exhale, circle, sit up to tabletop. Inhale, lay back. Exhale, circle, sit up. Good. If you're getting ready for a modification right now, you might want to take feet down to the floor and do your overhead reach and your leg extension, and then circle, sit up. Overhead reach, leg extension, circle, sit up. Overhead reach, leg extension, circle, sit up. If you're still in tabletops, fantastic. You're doing your overhead with your leg extension and you're circling, sitting up to tabletop legs. Reach, circle, sit up. Single leg reach, circle, sit up. Single leg reach, circle. We're moving on to double legs. So back to tabletop legs, and you're going for double leg stretch with the arms. Circle to tabletop. Double leg stretch with the arms. Circle to tabletop. If this is too much, stick with your single legs for another minute. Good. Getting that nice length through the body. Stretching toes, lengthening spine, and then circling back in. If you come in a little bit nearer than tabletop, don't worry. Control is needed on the way out. We get a little bit of light relief on the way in. So again, think about keeping rib cage and pelvis quite close to each other. That's where that core connection comes from. So we're not allowing any flare or popping of ribs and chest. And we're keeping our we're keeping our hips quite retracted, if that makes sense. So they're not rolling and stretching away from us. So engage some glutes, squeeze around hips and glutes, keeping that pelvis nice and stable. And then into your plank hip dips. So we're coming into an elbow plank next. On the elbows, feet nice and long, draw your shoulder blades down your bottom, down towards your bottom, and gently take your hip dips side to side. So you're twisting your hip towards your mat and then realigning the hips back to neutral. So little dip to the side, back to neutral, twisting on the toes. Keeping your tailbone nice and long, drawing that pubic bone towards your chin, just so that we keep this lower back nice and happy. I don't mind if your bottom's a little bit high in the air, as long as your lower back and your tummy are working together. What we don't want is for your lower back to go into an arch and put pressure on the lower vertebra here. Again, try and draw shoulder blades nice and low in the spine if we can. And if it's getting a bit tough, modification here, you could drop towards the knees and just gently wiggle your bottom side to side there. So I'll leave that with you if you fancy it, and just keep going side to side. We're nearly in towards the end of that minute. Lovely, we're there. And up to full plank. So stretching out through the arms, draw shoulder blades down, holding full plank. Long through your heels, long through your crown. Gently take one knee down, take the second knee down. Lift your knee, lift your second knee. And again, we're going 1 down, 2 down, 1 up, 2 up. So down, down, up, up, down, down, up, up. Maybe change your lead leg. Down, up, up. We're trying, if we can, to keep our hips as level as possible as we do this. So there's as little wiggle through the hips and the bottom as we can find. I know that's an ideal world. Let's see what you can do. Keep drawing that pubic bone towards that chin. Keep drawing shoulder blades down your back. Shoulders will be working hard here as well. When we get towards the end of this minute, we'll have a very brief pause, I think, because we've worked really hard, and take it into child's pose. Quick little breather, and we're going to move on to plank to side plank transitions. So bringing it back to your full plank here, we're going to swivel on the feet, so the edges of the feet come to the mat. Swivel your hips, your ribs, and your shoulders to stack here. Gently bringing it back through your plank and taking it the other way. So swivel the feet, get the hips, the ribs, and the shoulder girdle to twist. Taking your hand back to plank and taking it side to side. And again, you can kind of go through these as quickly or as slowly as you wish. Keep pushing away through the mat, keep lifting hips, lifting waists, so that we keep this strength through the side of the body. So keep lifting your hips, lifting your waist away from the floor. Good. Coming back through plank and switching to the sides. Keeping shoulder blades quite low in the spine again if we can, because it helps to get the strength of the back to support the shoulder strength. And we come into our full roll backs next. So sit yourselves up on your sit bones with your feet out in front of you. We'll just straighten those legs out and bring our arms into a nice tall cuddle position. Start to tuck the tailbone, take the sacrum and roll down towards the mat, one vertebra at a time. Overhead reach then, we could inhale here and hands chin, rib cage towards the toes. And then sit yourselves back up nice and tall for a tall sit on your sit bones. Breath in, exhale, roll back. Inhale, overhead reach. Exhale, hands, chin, rib cage to the toes. Inhale, sit tall. Exhale, roll back. Inhale, overhead reach. Exhale, hands, chin, rib cage. Inhale, tall seats. Exhale, roll back. Inhale, overhead reach. Exhale, hands, chin, rib cage. Inhale, come tall. Exhale, roll back. Inhale, overhead reach. Hands, chin, rib cage, forwards to the toes. Inhale, sit tall and relax. And you have made it 10 minutes. Hope your tummy is feeling nice and burny. And I'm sorry if you feel it tomorrow. Please join me for some more. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you want more like this.